There is a fantasy that once you recognize that your life is no longer working, you will leave it. You will resign, you will separate, you will move, begin again somewhere more honest. But most lives do not fall apart in ways that permit clean exits. Most of us are embedded in structures that we helped build: marriages, children, mortgages, institutions, reputations. And so the questions become not how do I leave, but how do I live differently inside of what I cannot yet dismantle? Welcome back to Becoming Lissarette. Last episode, we talked about collapse, the quiet disintegration of an identity that once organized your life. And today, I want to talk about construction, not reinvention, not transformation. Construction is slower than that, less cinematic, and far less marketable. There is a period in many women's lives, particularly those who become primary caregivers, when, where desire becomes operationally irrelevant, right? You want the child to sleep and you want the bills to be paid. You want the household to remain intact. You want the marriage to stabilize, maybe go back to what it used to be. You want survival. And survival has very little use for longing. As the mother of a neurodivergent child, my life reorganized around predictability, around routines, around interventions, around advocacy. And that reorganization, well, my own desires became increasingly impractical, eventually invisible. Construction begins when desire returns, not dramatically, but as a question. What do I want that no one else is asking me to want? And sometimes we feel guilty about asking ourselves that question. Because are you the mother, the wife, the boss? Are you allowed to want? Aren't another 2, 3, 5 other people priority before you? Because there was a point where you forgot that without you, without taking care of the body, of the mind, of you, there couldn't possibly be anything else. Caregiving. Caregiving alters your relationship to your body. Your body becomes functional, maybe even logistical, necessary. I love this one. Because your body, what it does, it feeds, it carries, it regulates, it absorbs stress, it stays awake. Over time, you begin to experience yourself less as someone who inhabits a body and more as someone who uses one. Construction begins when, let me tell you, construction begins when you notice what you wear. I love fashion. I love putting together outfits. I love understanding the colors, not in an obsessive or costume kind of way like when I was younger, but more into I would like to treat myself nicely. And so when I put my outfit together, when I wear fabrics that feel of quality, when people stop me on the streets and say, I love your outfit, it tells me that the effort I put on me counts. And it just makes the world treat you a little bit kinder. Noticing these things helped me understand that I had forgotten that I can dress nicely too. I can wear brands too. And I can enjoy that and not feel guilty about it. And from the way you dress, which changes the perception of the world about you, and I've learned that clearly, then comes another thing you can notice: how you move. How I was consistently rushing, and I had to tell myself that it's okay to take pause. It's okay to wait a second. It's okay to wait 2 minutes. Not every single thing is urgent, and my nervous system thanks me for it. Another thing that I started to notice more was what I ate. And please, let's not get clinical. It's not like, oh, notice what you eat because you are. Yes, that's very important. And I've always been very conscious about the choices of the things I put in my body. But when I said notice what you eat, was loving. You know, I remember that movie Eat, Pray, Love, when she talks about she goes to Italy and the Italians are very good at that, at eating, at enjoying food. I mean, I think the French are better, but that's a personal opinion. But it was literally going to a restaurant by myself, which was unthinkable, right? And ordering a meal without thinking of anyone's preferences, without thinking that, you know, I have to think, no, it's my meal. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy. And I started having a love for culinary experiences, from Michelin stars to sitting on a street, you know, a street cart, a vendor that has been recommended by someone who's like, you must try this. And just experiencing food not as nourishment in the sense of like, I need to eat to stay alive, but experiencing food as something you truly notice. Oh my God, this has extra lemon. This is spicy. I love this sweetness. My preference is towards French food, and I am not very fond of this. Because when you're distracted with other things, these basic acts that are pleasurable, you kind of start asking yourself permission to do it. Oh, can I eat this? Can I eat? Yes, you can. You're an adult. Please, 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 with moderation and with mindfulness, eat things you love. Another thing that you start to notice is who you allow close to you. This is one of my favorites because there were a lot of connections that I kept because they were important, because of work, because of appearances, but I could not continue to nurture these connections because they literally drained me. And that leads me to the next thing that you notice, and it is what you tolerate. You often hear people say, oh, life is too short to, and I say life is too short for anything mediocre. Why would you accept the bare minimum in your relationship? Why would you accept the bare minimum on a meal? Why would you do this to yourself? What are the lies that you've been telling yourself to get to that point where your choices become this practical, that life loses its joy? And you will notice also the things that you no longer do, that they don't serve you anymore. Not because it's healthy, but because it's true. How do I design a life that I can ethically live? Because once recognition has occurred, once collapse has made itself known, you are faced with a quieter, more complicated task: designing a life that you can ethically remain inside of. Not because it looks impressive. Nowadays, we love those. Or not because it satisfies an audience, another thing people love nowadays, but because it does not require you to continuously betray yourself. And this design work is rarely visible. But it might look like renegotiating relationships. Boundaries are okay. They're very healthy. I encourage them. Please ask yourself the things that really don't work and set them in place. Or it may also look like declining opportunities. And now I know that's controversial because some people are like, God, wait, maybe this is, but does it serve you at this point? It's okay to reconsider your ambition. Maybe the things you wanted are no longer the things you want, and that is okay. The constant, incessant, eternal hustle is not healthy. And I understand there's people out there who would say, oh, well, fudge, whatever. Sure, I hope that works for you or it's working for you. It's okay for you to admit that your success came at a cost. And you're just no longer willing to pay that price. Gosh. Construction is not about becoming someone new. It's about removing what was never sustainable to begin with. Reorganization is not always liberation. Sometimes it is simply alignment. A quieter life, a slower one, a more honest one. And for many of us, that is the most radical construction about.